How do I explain it? It's the universal language of a good time, I reckon.
You know, every bottle tells a story and every sip is a sentence.
Growing up, I was always kind of exposed to wine. Mum and Dad started off with a cask wine in the fridge. I always used to be like, what is that?
When we were kids, he would always have a glass of red wine next to his chair and he would let us drink. Like, he would drink all of it except a little bit at the bottom, and he'd let us drink that.
You know, family dinner table and telling you stories and laughter, and yeah, so I thank them and I blame them for my love of wine.
As I grew up, really got to know my dad over a few bottles, and that relationship continues today. We share special bottles at special times, and that's been a really cool way for us to connect.
No, but I remember the first time I drank wine. It was playing Goon of Fortune.
Probably the first time I ever got pissed was on Spumante.
Yeah, it was like a cheeky little Pinot, probably, served with the body of Christ. So, yeah, first wine experience.
I used to live in Marburg, which is like rural Queensland, and the guy down the road was making Chenin Blanc for the Marburg show. And he let me come along and like help play with all the big steel barrels, and we helped him with the picking. And then I would have been like 14 or 15, and he even let me have like a glass of wine, like when it was all finished. I felt really fancy and a little bit drunk.
It's something that changes and lives and breathes, and it's made from a vintage, and then when that batch of wines is gone, like it's unique, then it's gone forever. And I think when you have an understanding of what goes into a wine, or you fall in love with a vintage of a specific wine, and then you've got 5 in your cellar and you drink one, then it's gone, and it's heartbreaking, but that's what makes it so precious.
So you get an idea of the people, the history, the food, everything just in like one little consumable product. And I think that's really cool.
It's an excuse to get together with all of the people that you love, crack open a bottle, eat some beautiful food, share some great wine and stories, and just have fun.
This one wine that was there, the 98 Reserve Stony Vineyard Cabernet, and it was just like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. And when you matched it with the Tassie cheese, it was just, you know, it was an experience. And that was the first time I went, oh wow, this is kind of cool.
We got this Heathcote Shiraz, and it just, like, I had it with my steak, and it was just that first time when you're just like, this is just, it's, like, I wasn't just drinking wine, you were drinking something like just so much more interesting. And
my 21st birthday present, which was a 1993 Grange that my dad had bought when I was born. So he held on to it for 21 years without me knowing, and presented it over a dinner.
We used to grow grapes in our back gardens. At the age of 2, Dad used to throw me in the bucket, and I used to just stomp all the grapes on the, through my feet. So sort of like been drinking ever since.
I do remember when I was living in South America, every time I'd go out, I'd be like, wallet, keys, phone, bottle opener, because they don't have screw caps, and it was definitely a necessity.
I had a bottle of 93 Shiraz Cab for my 21st with my mate, who's also got red hair. So that was cool. And I think the wine was called Rouge, which is like another word for red. I thought that was pretty funny as well.
I was drinking a really good Premier Cru Chardonnay. It wasn't a Chassagne Montrachet, but something like that, out of a dirty latte glass with a bunch of French dudes smoking cigarettes, like one out of the nostril, one out of the mouth. It was disgusting, but the whole experience was not a wanky thing. The environment, the wine itself, and just the way it was served and appreciated was fantastic.
It's like vanilla and kind of like straw, and it just takes me right back to these memories of being on a farm. And it's like my happy place.
I love wine, how it sort of frames and enhances a situation.
Yeah, I think what I like with wine is how it brings people together.
I think it's more the social element that I find really fascinating, and how passionate people get about it.
Okay, so you know how you have your knee and then there's like tissue in between the knee and the bone so it doesn't grind? It's like that. That's what wine is. The tissue in the knee.
I tend to travel a bit, and wine seems to be a universal language.
When I was living in New York and I was going through a lot of freezing cold winters, at the end of the day, and I'd get inside and take off all my layers and open up a bottle of red wine, that was what got me through it.
I was in Myanmar, in Burma, and I heard about this winery, and Burma is not known for its wines. And then all of a sudden I find myself on top of a hill overlooking this fucking gorgeous valley right near a lake, drinking Chardonnay, which was actually quite good, and just like having like a where even am I moment.
I remember hiking in Nepal and I had you know those water bladders that you have for really great athletes? I had that full of wine and I remember sitting on this mountain looking at the snow and the stars and I just was sucking on my bladder.
So my favourite wine is a 2013 Chapter Malbec. I'm not claiming it's the best wine I've ever tried, but it's my favourite because it was made by my cousin.
Mount Avoca, I would drink Mount Avoca 2012 Shiraz. Nah, 2010, give me a 2010, God. I mean, if I'm choosing. God, give me a 2000 if I'm choosing.
My favourite wine and winery is Coriol in McLaren Vale, without a doubt. Their Shiraz, I think, is the bee's knees.
Chardonnay, I like a bit of cat's piss on the weekend. Oh my God, you're recording this? Oh my fuck.
2008 Gibson's Old Vine Barossa Shiraz. I started working in the wine industry in 2007 and the 2008 was my first ever prize. So it was a bit special.
Some people say they've never experienced love and once they're in love, they're madly in love with someone. I think I'd like to have the same experience with wine where one day I know I'll have this amazing wine experience and I know what it feels like, so I haven't had this yet.
He took me to this cellar door, I can't remember which winery it was, but in Tanunda somewhere. And he took me for this tasting and ever since then I've always been really into reds. Yeah, and it's a special story because he's passed away since then. He was really crook and it's just, I always think about that. Yeah, he was the one that introduced me to, Shiraz.
So it was their favourite wine and now is a wine that is shared amongst my family in good times and in bad, just to remember them and sort of a special wine to us.
For me, wine is all about adventure, journey and the stories of people behind the wine and I find that fascinating.
I'd go out on a Saturday and we'd catch crabs, blue swimmers, and we'd bring them back, cook them on the balcony, and with them I'd have the Shaw and Smith M3 Chardonnay, which was beautiful.
Used to just sit around at dinner when someone new came on board, like Dribble or Rosa, and we would just do blind drunking.
I guess my fondest memory was sharing a few bottles of Dutch Sauce Pinot 2011, which is our first Vinomofo wine release, with the crew. And at that point, there was only like 10 or 15 of us, and we went to a cheap Vietnamese restaurant. And I just remember having such a good time and just feeling like this is my family.
And then Rod came up to me to have a chat, and he put his glass next to mine. They sort of got a bit mixed up, and he's like, "Oh, which glass is mine?" I said, "Let me check, Rod." So I had a smell of both and had a taste, and I said, "This one's yours, it's the Willoughby Park Calgan River." And he looked at me and he goes, "Good girl, you're learning."
Probably travelling around Margaret River with my wife. We were on our honeymoon, just going through, and we visited a couple of wineries and we found one off the beaten track and had this really nice calamari salad looking out over the vineyard and a nice glass of white wine. And yeah, it was just a really special time.
We were sitting in this awesome restaurant just outside in the south, no, we're in Chablis maybe, and just under these big trees and a bottle of Chablis, and it was just awesome.
And I think a great wine should always be shared.
It means great friends, food, memories, and really it should always be the background noise, never the main event.
My father-in-law, dear Frank, anytime you bring over a bottle of wine, whether it be for dinner or a gift, he puts a little post-it note on who's given it to him, and he'll never forget, and when he brings it out again, he'll make sure the person who gave it to him is there at the dinner.
Me and my girlfriend and a couple of our other friends that live in my building have taken some bottles of wine up to the roof and got some burritos delivered and chilled out up there with a couple of bottles of wine. It's been really fun.
Having 5 bottles of Moet and Chandon Cuvée Riche for the first time.
Nicole's surprise birthday party, and we were all waiting for her upstairs, and she came up the elevator and the elevator doors open.
And then they popped a big bottle of champagne for me. It was pretty special. It was good. Something I'll remember forever.
And of course, like me trying to be really professional, went to spit some wine and completely missed the bucket and like splattered all over this really nice tasting bench, and there were all these people around there. that was pretty memorable. For them too, I think.
When I first moved into my apartment, my girlfriend and I had only just started dating, and I had no furniture, but I had wine, and we sat on the floor and we just cracked a bottle, and I had pizza maker for some reason, no couches, but we sat on the floor and ate pizza and drank wine, and I had no idea what it was, but it was really good.
Wine's inspired in me a care and interest for place and land.
From the start to the finish, it's about people and place.
You know, you're sitting, you have a sip of a wine and you're just like, fuck, what the fuck was that? And it changes your friggin' life. So wine, I love you.
It's pretty amazing that you can get so many different tastes and nuances from, you know, just this one little grape that has different varietals, but you know, still starts as a grape.